Hi, everyone. It is Angelina Mojica here with your Good Morning Minute. I am so excited today because I have Anna Love with me, and we are going to talk about creating a life that you desire. And when we're talking about creating a life you deserve, you desire, it's about empowering women to take control of their destiny. It's a call to action for us women to embrace our inherent power and take decisive steps towards shaping our futures. So, hopefully, in this conversation that we have, we highlight for you those encouragements that you probably need to hear today to take that next step for yourself to start building the future that you so deserve. Uh, so let's get into it. Anna, go ahead and introduce yourself to our listeners.
Thank you so much for having me. My name is Anna Love, and I have dubbed my name that. I've actually shifted my name because for me and for you, I think it's super important to come back to love. And love is where it starts when we're born. And we want to always be able to connect to that love. That is where our true freedom is. That is where our authenticity lies. That's where our power is. And that's where all of the answers that we're seeking, typically seeking outside of us, it's actually here. It's inside of us. So I am a freedom specialist and an empowerment coach. And when you were speaking, my heart was beating because this is just such important content for people to hear.
Oh, absolutely. And I love how you're talking about love because it really is. I know that in my engagements, I try to ground myself in love because I want to be perceived as someone that is genuine and compassionate. Even if it's a disagreement or whatever it is, it's always founded in love. So I like that you're highlighting that for us today. That I think it's a very unique and a good perspective to take on. So, Anna, what key steps can women take to start creating the life that they deserve?
Well, starting with love, right? Starting with just being in your truth. So a key step is to become aware. Okay. So becoming aware of how are you feeling inside? How is your reality and the outcome of your life? How does that feel for you? Is that what you want, or is that what you've come to, be doing just because of a series of events that you thought you should have done? Right? Maybe you went and the good old example of maybe you went and got a college degree because you thought you needed to, but really it's not serving you, or you're in a job where it makes good money and you're financially secure, but your passion is in something else, but you were afraid. And this is what some of my clients come to me. They're searching. They're like, where am I? Where am I inside? What am I supposed to be doing? And I say, it's always there for you. It's something that you've already done, probably between the years of 7 and 14. You were doing what your truth is. So really, like sifting out what is it that you're doing now, and is it aligning with who you are? What is your purpose? What is your truth? Why are you here?
And I love that because it really is an alignment of your heart. It's where your passions lie. It is looking inward and saying, okay, just because I was encouraged to be a doctor, or just because I was encouraged to, do something else, whatever that is it aligning with your values and just the core concepts of who you are? So, I mean, how can women identify what they truly deserve or what they want in life?
Oh my gosh. I mean, again, it comes back to how do you feel in your day? Are you numbing out to just get through the day? And are you saying to yourself, oh, I just need to do this for 5 more years to get my kids through college, right? If that is a yes for you, then maybe you do have to stick it out a couple of years longer, but have a plan for what's next. It's never too late to find your passion, to find your truth, to maybe you want to go teach yoga in the mountains somewhere. Maybe you really want to do that now and you can't, but you can make a plan for, 2 years from now or 5 years from now, right?
And I love that because you're leading into a great next question for me. But when you mentioned a mother like having a children and they've got 5 years before they can step into their own. So in a perspective of that type, how important are short-term goals versus the long-term goals in the process? Because even though you have children in your home and you're still a priority is raising your children and motherhood, you can still set little goals to help after that 5-year span when they are kind of more independent, children are more independent or out of the house.
Yeah.
So yeah, help me understand that.
I feel like that speaks to presence and how we're being in the current moment. So everyone worries or, worries about what's in the future or ruminates on what's in the past. And I mean, just to be completely transparent, your future is made up of the now. Okay. So how you're being right now and how you're internalizing any circumstance or any event that comes in, how you're handling any challenge that maybe you're in your present moment, that is going to form the next moment, which is going to form your future. So those to me are short-term goals, keeping yourself regulated, figuring out ways to notice if you're getting triggered by something that's unresolved in the past, and really showing up to the here and now every moment so that the future, whatever's coming, is based off of like how you want it to be, not on autopilot. And then there's a difference between, it's called cause and effect. So being at cause means that you are setting yourself up. All the decisions that you're making in the here and now are setting yourself up for success. That means how you're internalizing the events that are coming in, right? Being in effect means, yeah, well, I know I have a future and who knows what that's going to be. I don't have a crystal ball, right? But you're actually creating your future. And being in effect means believing that you have absolutely no power over what's in the future. And that's just not true.
Mm. And I mean, and that's so true because so many of us are on autopilot. So many of us are just kind of breezing through life and not really realizing that time is our true treasure because that is something that we can never regain.
That's right.
And a lot of people look at building the future like, oh well, when I get the money or when I'm able to do this and when I'm able to do that. Well, you're always going to be in that state of mind until you decide, okay, no, this is what I'm going to do. The money isn't here yet, but if I start setting those short-term goals, it's gonna come. There will be that attraction and an opportunity is going to pop up because you're looking for it at this point rather than just kind of shifting through life going, yeah, it would be great, but when this happens or that happens. And you talked about fear too, as a barrier, just not having the confidence to go out and do it for yourself or create it for yourself. What in your journey were some of maybe societal barriers that you faced,
Mhm.
and how did you address them?
Well, can I answer that in a second? I want to
Sure.
piggyback off of something you said
Yeah,
about
yeah.
just vibrational. And when you were talking about the like
Mhm,
making things happen, it is really this manifesting, right? This making your future is not only like what you're doing in the short term, but it's how you're being. And vibrationally, when you raise yourself up and you raise up your behaviors, that is going to attract in the things that you actually want. And then doors start flying open. You're like, how are things so easy? Or alternatively, which is how I used to live, and we'll get to that next, is doors were constantly closing for me because I was in
mhm,
such this like state of mind of scarcity and fear. So
mhm,
yeah,
mhm,
that parlays into the fear question. And I think for me, I mean, it like you if you believe in soul evolvement and you get to choose to come into this body form and choose your family and choose your friends and your partners with these soul contracts, you're actually choosing the life you have to get over the challenges that you need to get over, right? Like to evolve, right? Fully. And but for that reason, it might not feel so good, right? So one of the things that I've had to deal with in my life and challenges would be poverty, right? Living on welfare, having a
mhm,
very young mom. She had me at 19 and my dad was 18. So when you're coming and born into this type of family, it's going to come with biases and beliefs and like a scarcity mindset, right? Or we can't
mhm,
have that. That's not available to you. And these things are just a false perception of your parents, right? And we can take that information and we can use it to create this victim place like, well, I can't go to college because there's no money for that. Or one of the things that I told myself was that I wasn't smart enough to go be a psychologist. And I wanted to do that, but I went into the teaching field, but that was really that was a choice based on fear, right? So here I am years later, and I was a teacher, and I started another company as it's another company for kids teaching kids how to cook called Tiny Chefs, and that's fully running right now, and it's amazing. So I turned myself into a teacher and a business owner, and now I'm doing the coaching aspect, which is the very thing that I wanted back then. So
Mhm, mhm.
yeah,
And I love how you're touching in on the belief system because that is such a huge barrier for us just as humans trying to do things in life. And when we have a belief system that is shaped from an early age due to the experiences that we encounter, nobody stops us at 5 years old and says, hey, this is not for you, this is me right now, this is what I'm doing for myself, you can do something totally different. And that's where and why you see generational
yeah.
patterns, because nobody ever stops to tell a child in your family circle that this could be different for you if you want it to be.
That's
And I
right.
think that is the biggest shift. And here I am, 48 years old, learning it, and I'm like, okay, well, I have 3 adult children. I'm trying to teach them that concept. And that's hard because you're having to go back and rewire a lot of things that were taught at
Yeah.
those very impressionable years. And so I love that you're bringing that up. Um, so and we're talking about self-belief and we're talking about confidence. And so how significant is those two elements in taking control of your destiny?
Talking about beliefs.
Beliefs and confidence. Yeah.
Beliefs and confidence. I mean, so confidence is not to be misconstrued with self-esteem. Okay, confidence, you can be confident about skills. So I can be confident that I'm a really good race car driver, right? I'm not a really good race car driver. I could go learn how to be a really good race car driver and get really confident about that. Self-worth is more about like, what do you feel about yourself? And I think
Mhm.
people tend to get those confused. So a lot of people walk around pretending to have confidence about the way that they feel about themselves. And it's sort of like see-through. You're like, something's not right about that, right? The belief system is everything. So a belief system is paired with a decision. So at some point when a limiting belief is created, something has to have been decided, whether it was decided by a caregiver and you're taking that on from them, or if it's something that you've created at a very young age where someone said something directly to you, or it's an indirect understanding that you got. There has been a belief that was decided upon. And then the belief creates these thoughts, and then the thoughts create feelings, and then feelings create the action steps that you take. Now, if you believe that you're not good enough or you're not smart enough, going back to my example, I'm not smart enough to be a psychologist, well, that's going to feel a certain way. I'm going to think certain things, and I'm not going to take action on going through with, even applying, because I already believe I'm not going to be good at it. And so I'm just going to avoid it, right? I mean, although that could have been my path and that could have been my true calling, I'm already shutting that down on myself.
Oh, and that just, like you said, shutting doors.
Mhm.
Until you change that mindset, that's all you're going to see is shutting doors. And then we tend to go, you see, that's why, because I knew this wasn't the path for me. Well, it's always, you're going to be right either
Yeah,
way.
that's
So,
right.
I mean, like I would rather be right in the trying than in the not.
Yeah, there's a saying that one of my coaches taught me, that if you're going to tell yourself a lie that isn't even real, tell yourself a better lie that's a little bit more empowering.
Yeah, for sure. And it is. I mean, and then so we're talking a little about the belief system and then confidence. You mentioned confidence not being like not equating to self-worth at all. Confidence comes from the doing. So when you step out of that comfort zone, when you step out of your fear and you start doing the things that maybe you're not comfortable with, but it's progressing you, like we talked about those short-term goals, it's progressing you towards that big picture that you have in mind for yourself. You're going to see that you are fully capable of doing it, and you're going to have that decisive mindset that I'm going to keep going, I'm going to keep going. And that's where your confidence starts to build. It's a skill. It
Yeah,
really is a skill that you have to refine. Not to get it confused with being cocky, because when you're doing that, that's something totally different. But being confident in it, I mean, it exudes without you even having to say anything.
that's right. Yeah. And when you do have that belief in yourself, even though you haven't done it yet, then you go out and you try it. It's like a baby when they don't they don't know that they can't walk. They can just fall down and keep getting up, fall down and keep getting up. Well, if we believe that we are going to be able to succeed, we actually are going to be able to succeed. Our beliefs run the show for us.
And that's so true. And I love that you use that analogy, because kids, again, going back to children, they have no limiting beliefs. They are a
Mm-mm.
clean slate. That's why they're able to get up and walk. They're getting up and talking. They're learning, and because it's constant practicing of doing and doing.
Right.
And the support system comes in there as parents, because we're encouraging, no, get up, you can try again. So why does that encouragement stop as we get older? Because we start putting on to our children as parents, just kind of continuing with this analogy, our own limiting beliefs on
Okay.
our children. And so, that's why it becomes such a struggle later in life.
Of
Um,
course.
so give me an example of your success. How did you empower yourself to transform your life?
Well, I learned this from Tony Robbins. You are either catapulted because you want to get away from pain or you want to go towards pleasure. Okay. And for me, I'm actually seeking success because it feels good. It's the direction of what I want to be on. But in earlier, when I realized I just am not happy, I'm tired of feeling unhappy in my body. I'm tired of doors being closed all around me. Something is not working. If not everything that I'm doing is not working here. And I just got sick of being sick of myself, to be honest. And I said, something has to change. I don't even know what needs to change or how to make the changes. So I went out and I just immersed myself into personal development. And, I realized that I went through a really, really bad breakup when I was younger at the age of 24. And coming out of that breakup, I grasped at the only thing that I could. And this was like a defining moment right then, but then I sort of forgot about it. But you ever hear those books like Don't Sweat the Small Stuff and it's all small stuff? That's one of the books that was, it came into my sphere and I grabbed it and I read it. And all of a sudden I taught myself, like, just be happy, Anna. Like, be grateful. Look at the sun. Just start being happy. Practice it. It's a new feeling. It's uncomfortable because I used to use anger as like my shield, and it was the way I protected myself. And I had this belief that if I was happy, then I would get hurt. But I had to start teaching myself back then. Be happy, be happy, even if I can't find like real good reasons other than it's sunny out, just believe it. And then it became true. I ended up starting to raise what I didn't realize at the time is I was raising my vibration. Okay. Then I sort of like fell off the personal development. That's as far as I got there with that. And then 20 years later, or 18 years later, I was in my 40s again, not happy and doing all kinds of things to self-sabotage. And I just didn't feel passion in my body. And I was like, where's my life? Where's my zest? And I'm
Mhm.
realizing I'm being a role model for my girls. And I said, enough's enough. I cannot do this any longer. I cannot go on autopilot, right? I'm calling bullshit on myself and I need to figure this out. And that's what really catapulted me into my changes.
And I love that. And I appreciate your vulnerability, just sharing, because it is so true. It tends, for the most of us, to take kind of just a hit to the floor, or some term it a rock bottom. I know for me it was a rock bottom, and order for us to like really pause in a moment, because we're so used to just jumping to that next thing, but to pause in that moment and go, okay, what am I doing? Because I am tired of ending up in those same like situations. So what can I change? Because here's the reality and the truth. I'm a true believer. The truth sets you free, is that the common factor in every circumstances and situations you find yourself in is you.
You're the common denominator of your
Yes,
life. That's
yes,
right.
yes.
Where's your
And
happiness?
so it starts with you. It ends with you. It starts with you. And so for you to make that shift, you've
Mhm.
got to be committed to yourself and
Yeah.
hold yourself accountable, take responsibility and move forward. Otherwise, you'll never see the transformation that you want to see.
That's right. Yeah.
So, what are some strategies that you can give women that may be in similar situations like yourself, um, to help them start building the momentum
Mm,
for those short-term goals for the to reach their long term?
right. I think I'll just use me as an example. For me, it'd take me 45 minutes to get out of bed in the morning, right? So I had to develop a morning routine where the minute I woke up and I would make sure that, I lessened my alcohol consumption the night before. So I would always have a cocktail at night, like not drinking, like whatever it is that's keeping you from being your most authentic and passionate self. Figure out what that is. What vices are you using? What are you doing to avoid like what you really actually want to do? Because we use ways to avoid, and we call it procrastination, but it's self-sabotage. Like, what things are you doing? Are you binging TV? Are you not working out? So what can you do to start raising your vibration and raising your energy? Get enough sleep. Okay. Don't drink a lot of alcohol. Don't eat a lot of sugar, making sure you're consuming a lot of water and healthy foods. I mean, all the obvious things, getting exercise, but also putting yourself on a plan, an accountability plan. And if you need a partner, maybe you get a partner to do this with you. But if you set yourself straight and and for the morning and you get yourself up and out of bed early, and then maybe you're journaling, you're meditating, you're working out, you're drinking water, you're having even a cup of coffee is great, having a good breakfast, all by 7:30 in the morning. Look at all that you've just accomplished. And that alone will start to boost you up, because most people aren't even out of bed yet. And you've just done things that are already, changing the way you feel inside.
And it's so true because I started mentioning in the beginning about time. And I grew up with a mother that would wake me up on a Saturday really early, and as an adolescent, you all you want to do is just sleep until like noon. And my
Mhm.
mom would wake me up and she'd be like, "You're sleeping your life away. Get up, get up." And I mean, it's so true though. Like, I look at that, I'm like, "You're right, because I am never gonna get those precious hours,
Yeah.
minutes back in my day." And you truly do sleep your life away. I think that's, a great idea. So you mentioned some things. You mentioned journaling, you mentioned, meditations and, just positive things to
Mhm.
put in place as habits to replace other things that maybe aren't working for you. What
Yeah.
other support systems do you think are essential for women aiming to control their destiny?
Well, I think the people that you were hanging out with is a big deal. I think if you are hanging out with friends who are, doing things that are going to, hold them back from being their most amazing, you're absolutely going to have a harder time moving forward. So you need to kind of separate yourself, give yourself space. No one said you can never talk to these people again, but put yourself in maybe a mindset group, or find some other people who are doing things that you want to do. And I like the things that I've learned is never be like the smartest person in the room. You always want to put yourself with people who know more than you, or that, you want to add value to them, but you also want to learn and grow. If you're not growing, you're dying. So looking for ways to grow, ways to expand. What can you do that maybe things that you've been afraid of, go directly towards that, right? And speaking of fear, just linking it back, whenever we're afraid of something, usually that's where we need to go. That's the direction exactly where we need to go in order to have our breakthroughs, right? And we want to have our breakthroughs and our transformations in order to like get rid of the old stuff, the old patterns, the old ways of being, the old belief, the old negative emotions that we're holding on to, in order to let go and release all of that and become the new, better version of you, right? The version that's actually who you truly are. You have to be willing to let go of something that's familiar. Even if you don't like what it is, you're just say like, look, it's familiar and I've been doing it for 100 years. It doesn't serve me anymore. It's something I did because I needed to, like when I was 9, or, a way of being that I was in college. I don't need that identity anymore. Let it go and go where it's uncomfortable and unfamiliar. And for me, it was putting myself in rooms full of people that I didn't know, because I had a social anxiety problem. I didn't know, I didn't know my self-worth, and I didn't feel that I had value, or I knew what to say. So I immersed myself in groups where I was extremely uncomfortable until it became familiar.
Ew, I love that because networking is a big thing. And I very much was the introvert when it came to networking, but putting yourself in those places. And then again, we're talking small steps here. So small short-term goals, putting yourself in those places. That's one thing. Get comfortable in that environment. But you also mentioned don't be the smartest person in the room because that's when you know you've outgrown. And you need to, if you've got this big idea that you want to hit, you've got to put yourself around people that are already succeeding in that so you can learn and grow from it. I love that you mentioned that. Um, Talk about mentoring because, yes, you can come in these circles and these networking groups that are feeding your mind, feeding your development and growth towards your goals, but you still need someone that's going to hold you accountable.
Oh
So
my
let's
God.
talk a little bit about mentoring. I mean, you're a coach, so you do this. How important is it?
It's important for us to be coached, right? We all have a blind spot, so we can't see what we can't see, right? So it's important for us to always be humble enough to know that there are things that we may need help on, we may need assistance on, we might need an accountability partner with, right? To help us grow, to help us do that thing. There's always going to be something that we haven't done yet, an achievement that maybe we don't even know that we wanted, but we would never even pursue it if we didn't stretch and maybe get, put ourselves in different situations or different groups or knowing different people, or even just hiring somebody who may be able to expand your mindset, or looking at the wheel of life. If you were to like look at your entire life broken up into different sections, there's the financial, and then there's the health, and there's the relationship, and all of that. There's different sections there that you don't know. Maybe you might not be at a 10 for, is what I'm trying to say. Like, you've got all these different areas, and maybe you're only satisfied at like a 4 or a 5, but where can you grow, where can you expand, and seeking out help in getting you there.
And that's so true because you have to, I mean, you have to start somewhere. And so I have this nonprofit called Empower Her Steps, and I use that platform because I don't even want income to be a challenge for
Mhm.
mentoring. Again, because we're focusing on those
Mhm.
limiting beliefs, and in order to get out of there has to be a way out.
Mhm.
And so there's opportunities there. You just have to be open to them. But financial limitations shouldn't be a barrier either. I think I've ran across plenty of women in all kinds of social platforms that will offer guidance and mentoring just to help someone get that motivation going and give them that next step. And I think you continue to work in that element. But also, don't fear paying a coach or getting into some type of program to help yourself. It's an investment in self.
That's right. That's right. I love that. Yeah. And if, for all the coaches that are listening, if you are a coach and not getting coached, what does that say about what you
Right.
value, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, and
Yeah.
then I feel like my whole life I've been mentoring my cousins, or just younger people that have been in my orbit. So, and they've grown up with me, and something that I thought was just like a conversation, they really took it, and they said like, "I'm so glad you mentored me," and I was like, "Oh, I didn't know I was a mentor to you, but really I was."
And that's so true. Everyone has an opportunity to influence anyone they come in contact with.
Mhm.
What do you want that to look like for yourself? I think is a question to ask. So, Anna, tell me, what other big things that you have coming up for yourself?
Well, I am course creating right now. So I'm looking, I mean, I have a hypnotherapy background and an NLP background. And so I feel compelled to sort of create ways that women can, um, reach me at a whole different pay scale, whether they want to buy something that's, either free or a low ticket item or something bigger. I feel like I'm looking to build that out. So making maybe even a course membership and having all kinds of offerings in there, that is something that I'm looking at doing.
Mm. Well, I can't wait to hear more about it. Anna, if anyone wanted to get in contact with you outside of this podcast, how can they do that?
Well, my website, Anna Love Coaching, and I think that I'd like to offer a freebie, and I can give you the link for that. And it could, there's a couple of different things on there that they can get for free.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Anna, for your time and just your information and encouragement. I feel inspired after this conversation for sure. I definitely want to rethink my morning routine. But okay, guys, so you heard it here, Anna Love. If you want more information, just hit her website. Until next time, I am Angelina Mojica, your life coach, sending you much love, much peace, many blessings.
Thank you.